All right, folks, welcome back. It's time for the big move. It's time for Descartes' resolution to this radical doubt that he's imposed. What is there that we can know? Is there something that cannot possibly be doubted? And he tells us, in fact, there is. I am. I exist. I cannot possibly doubt that proposition, that I exist. I cannot doubt that I am. In the Discourse on Methods, an earlier work, he puts it somewhat differently. He says, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. Here, he just says, sum. I am. I exist. Why can't that be doubted? Why can't I doubt my own existence? Well, if I am doubting my own existence, doubting is itself a kind of thinking, and something must be doing that thinking. Something must be entertaining that thought that I don't exist, must be doubting my own existence. Well, whatever that something is, that must be me. I'm the thing that's doing that doubting. So if I think at all, I exist. If I doubt my existence, I'm thinking, so I must exist. There's no way to call that thought into doubt, no matter what the evil deceiver does. The evil deceiver can't make me doubt that. Because if the evil deceiver instills in me doubt in my own existence, I can always think, but what is doubting? Something is doing that doubting. Oh, I must be the thing that is doing that doubting. I must exist at least insofar as I'm possibly doubting my own existence. Cogito, ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. I am. I exist. But what am I? What is this thing that exists? What is the I, according to Descartes? Well, at this point, all we know about it is that it is the thing that thinks. I am a thinking thing. I am the thing that thinks. I know nothing else about myself. Am I a person? Am I a human being? Well, perhaps. But I don't know that my body exists. I see my hands. I see myself in the webcam. But I could be deceived about that. I could be dreaming about that. Even if I know that I exist, all that I know is that I exist as a thing that thinks. Everything else could still be deception. My imagination is still in doubt. I don't know that the things that I imagine are reliable or anything like what the world is like. The external world is deeply in doubt. I don't know that there's anything out there yet. It could just be me thinking that there is. It could just be me dreaming that there is. It could be the deceiver deceiving me into believing that there is. It could be God deceiving me into believing that there is. I don't know the general truths of mathematics and geometry, those a priori truths. They're still in doubt because I could still be deceived about all of that. I haven't evaded the dream argument. I haven't evaded the deceptive God argument. I haven't defeated the evil deceiver yet. But I know at least one thing. I have one foundation on which to rebuild all of my knowledge. I have one thing that I cannot possibly doubt. I am the thing that thinks. I am a mind. I am res cogitans. The thinking. Now this is where mind-body dualism gets in for Descartes. Because I am the thing that thinks. I may exist entirely disembodied. Mind might be something completely distinct from body. The nature of mind is just to think. Whatever mind substance is, whatever res cogitans is, it's just the stuff that thinks. Body is different. The nature of body, the essence of being embodied, is to have extension, to take up space. Those might exist or they might not. If they exist, they're distinct from the thinking thing. They're a separate entity, something that exists separate from them. So now we have a problem of how the mind and the body interact. Once we learn that there are in fact bodies in the world, once we learn that there are in fact human bodies in the world, how do the minds and those bodies interact? This is a deep problem for Descartes, one that we're not going to explore in any detail. But it's something that I want to mark, because if you ever take another philosophy class, a philosophy of mind class in particular, this would be a subject of conversation. So I am the thing that thinks. I am just a mind, perhaps a completely disembodied mind. But wait a second. Don't I know about bodies more distinctly than I know about this I? Like, I had to go through this whole investigation right now just to learn that I'm this thinking thing. Just to learn that I'm the thing that thinks. But objects, well, they're all around me. Like, there's this water bottle, there's this coffee mug, there's this cigar here. Like, there are things around. There's this hammer. I don't know why. There's always a hammer on my desk. There are objects around, right? I run into them all the time. I'm sitting in a chair right now. I closed the door when I came into the room. Right? I bump into things in the world. I stub my toe, right? There are objects all over the place, and don't I know them better than I know this I? Don't I have a more distinct idea of them than this I? Well, no. The corporeal things, Descartes says, of which images are formed in my thought, and which the senses investigate, are known with much more distinctness than this puzzling I, which cannot be pictured in the imagination. I can't even picture what this I is, this thinking thing, because it's not a picture. It's not a substance that I can imagine. It's just a thing that thinks. But think about how we know about objects in the world. Think about how we make judgments about them, how we distinguish one object from another, and in particular how we judge one object to be the same time and time again. It seems like we rely on our senses when we do this. It seems like the fact that I know my desk hammer is the same hammer time and time again is a matter of me encountering it with my senses and judging time and time again that it is the same. But Descartes wants to argue that this is not in fact an act of the senses or of the imagination, but an act of the intellect that makes such a judgment. So he asks us to consider a piece of wax, a fresh piece of beeswax that still smells of the hive that it was taken from, still has that sweet honey smell that a fresh piece of beeswax has. It's got extension, it's got a shape, it's hard, it's solid, but it's malleable, like a piece of wax. You can bend it a little bit, twist it a little bit, break it. It's got a color, it's like a sort of a yellowish color. Right? It's got all of these sensible properties. If I judge it to be the same piece of wax on the basis of its sensible properties, on the basis of my senses, it must be because it has these same properties each time I encounter it. If these properties change, then I wouldn't be able to judge it as the same thing. But then I leave the wax in front of my fireplace, and I walk out of my room for a while, wander around, come back a bit later, and I find, oh no, I'd set it too close to the fire and it's melted. All of the properties have changed. It no longer takes up the same space. It has a greater volume because wax expands when it melts, and it's now in a puddle on the floor. It's no longer flexible. It's a liquid, right? It runs. the color has changed. It was a yellowish color, now it's clearer. It's more translucent than it was before, and it's lost that sweet scent that it had. It's evaporated away. The honey has evaporated off of it. Everything about it has changed, yet I know it's the same piece of wax. I judge it to be the same piece of wax as the one that I left there. On what basis? Well, not because it looks the same or feels the same or smells the same or even tastes the same if I taste it. Everything about it has changed. On what basis do I make that judgment? Descartes says the only basis on which I could make that judgment is a basis of intellect. It is an operation of my mind, judging it to be the same piece of wax. It's not relying on any of the sensible qualities about that piece of wax. It is just my mind making that judgment. In fact, my mind is present, my intellect is present in every perceptual judgment that I make. It is always the intellect that is differentiating objects, that is picking objects out as the same time and time again. And so it is my intellect that I know more distinctly than any of the objects that are out there in the world. I know this I clearly and distinctly. It is the thing that thinks. It is whatever I am. We've got the first step of the escape from skeptical doubt. In the next video, I will wrap up this escape.